Yesterday, Sayadaw discussed the medium grade of Pamada and Apamada among the three grades of gross or obvious, medium, and refined or subtle, Pamada and Apamada. And there is more that could be said, but when we are practicing, this much is enough for our practice to be effective. So when virya, sati, and samadhi, especially when virya is applied, and the object that we note, the object is noted and the mind falls collectively on the object. Each time this happens, the mind does not go to sense objects, to sense desires. And in every second that we note like this, there's a second of apamada, so in 10 seconds we'll have 10 seconds of apamada, and so on. And at this time, the medium level of diligence or apamada is occurring. If there's not effort applied to observe the object as soon as it arises, the collectedness of mind disperses. And one knows that this, one's knowledge cannot arise. So if there's effective effort and accurate aiming, then as soon as there's a gap in one's noting, one knows it. On the other hand, if one notes lightly, the mind becomes separated from the object, and then thinking one dwells on something, and only after a long time does one realize, oh, I've been thinking. Okay, this is a careless yogi. And also one who does not value, one who does not know that each second of noting is valuable, will note lightly like this. And such a one also, every time they sit down or stand up, bend or stretch, all these actions will be done without taking care to apply mindfulness, and thus knowledge will not arise. Today is December 21st, and so for those who have begun to meditate or were here on December 1st, it's been 3 weeks already. Now, after 1 week of practice, according to the instructions, knowledge can develop. And after 2 weeks, needless to say, one should be able to experience knowledge within this time. After 3 weeks of practice, if the noting is not yet careful and continuous, that means this yogi does not value the practice. They do not value the power of a single noting. And so, one day after another, what they experience tends to be the same. And in 60 days, there won't be anything special for one who practices like this. This work is the most important of a human's tasks. Sayadaw has been urging the yogis strongly in this regard. It's necessary to value every single second of applied mindfulness and to make effort each second of the time to observe the object. Then, medium grade apamada will occur, and it will replace medium grade pamada, or negligence. Today, as a way to encourage people, and Sayadaw would like to speak about absorption or jhana. The nature of jhana is observation. It said, jayati aramanang upanejayati jhana. So it has the nature to observe. So what is it that we observe? It's the object, aramanang. And how is it that this jhana observes? Upajayati. It comes close to the object to observe it. And does it just observe part of the object? No, it observes the whole object. This prefix ni, that is also part of upanijayati, means without remainder. So jhana is fully encompassing the object, observing it with focus, closely observing it, fully observing it all the time. That's jhana. And one has to understand this. So, and Sayadaw has mentioned before during this retreat that there are two kinds of jhana. And one is the type that is used to observe the earth kasina and other types of kasinas, they're called. And this is Aramanupanijana. It observes these, that type of object. And because this type of jhana, this first type of jhana, calms the mind, it's also called samatha. The second kind is called Lakhanupanijana. This takes as its object the mental and physical phenomena that really exist, their true nature and how they behave. And with this observation, we go from observing the mental and physical phenomena to the cessation of these, which is called apavutta. This happens naturally when we apply this type of jhana. Naturally, path and fruition develop and one realizes nibbana. So observation of nama and rupa, the mental and physical phenomena, and their characteristics, all the way up to observation of nibbana, is Lakhanupanijana. So for us, in our work now, we should use the term Vipassana jhana for this second type. And thus, at present, we should just consider that there are two types. One is samatha jhana, and the second is vipassana jhana. The difference between these two types of jhana is that samatha jhana is observation just to make the mind calm and to dispel the nivaranas, the obstacles to concentration. Whereas the second type, vipassana jhana, is able to see the characteristics, the lakhana, the true characteristics of mental and physical phenomena. In other words, samatha jhana takes as its object concept, piññati, whereas vipassana jhana is used to observe the real mental and physical phenomena. And we have to understand this distinction. There are many methods to calm the mind. And Sayadaw described how an earth kasina is used in calming in this type of samatha jhana. And the earth kasina is a square of earth that one makes. So after making this square of earth, one focuses on it. And in one's mind one says earth, earth, or patavi, patavi, as a way of keeping the mind focused on this square of earth. So the mind is not supposed to go anywhere else at all. It's supposed to just stay on that square of earth. And this is samatha. It focuses on a single conceptual object, or piññati. And this is called loki jhana, or worldly jhana. It's just done to calm the mind. This type of jhana is not able to focus on the real dhammas of the paramattha dhammas of mental and physical phenomena. It's only able to focus on conceptual objects, piññati. And one trains one's mind to focus on this again and again. This is called samatha jhana. Vipassana jhana takes as its object every single mental and physical phenomena that arise at the eye, ear, nose, and so on. The six sense doors of the body: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. So one applies effort in order to know the individual characteristics of these mental and physical phenomena, their common characteristics, and the universal characteristics. So to know, one applies effort to know these and to always try to capture the object with sati, with mindfulness, and to have collectedness of mind. This jhana is focused on the ever new arising mental and physical phenomena as it arises. It doesn't take a single one as its object. The object is always changing. So every seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking, every bending, stretching, sitting, standing, every act that we make, this jhana is practiced to see the rupa and nama that occur in that moment, to see their individual characteristics, sabhava lakkhana, to see their common characteristics, to come to know these. The starting yogi is not able to note everything because their practice is not good yet. So the starting yogi has to begin with observing the most obvious object. And this is among the four great elements of air, earth, fire, and water. This is the air element, the quality, which has the qualities of stiffness, tension, movement. This is called vayo dhatu in Pali. One has to start observing with one's observation with this. And so it's said we sit down with our legs crossed, or how to say it easily in English, but not with one heel on the other. We put our mind on the abdomen because the rising and the falling occurs there most of the time. And the way we go to observe the rising and the falling at the abdomen is like the way we would go to greet a respected visitor at the place where they're coming. We would go out and greet them. So similarly, we place our awareness at the abdomen, and when we breathe in, the rising occurs. When the breath goes out, the abdomen falls again. So it's every time there's an in-breath, there's a rising, and every time there's an out-breath, there's a falling. And it's like a ball. The abdomen is somewhat like a ball, that it expands when it's filled up with air, and it collapses again when the air goes out. So every time the abdomen rises, we try to observe it from the very beginning all the way through to the end. We try also to observe every time the abdomen falls. We try to make our mind focused firmly with effort on the abdomen so that we can observe the object from beginning to end. We try not to miss a single one, and we don't just stay there without noting this rising and the falling. This is very important. When one knows how to practice well, then one can catch the rising and the falling and also will know other objects occurring in the body. One will come to know them. At the start, one can hardly keep one's mind on the rising and falling itself. But later, one also comes to know other objects while one is in the process of observing the rising and the falling. So here, we must start our observation with observing the rising and the falling. While sitting, we have a main object. And without a break, meticulously, we observe that main object of the rising and the falling. And if we do so, we will know what the rising is. We'll come to know the stiffness, tension, movement, displacement that is the natural characteristic that is obvious when the rising occurs. And those who have good then when virya, sati, and samadhi are good, one will come to know also the common characteristic of this, whatever these individual phenomena are. Whatever phenomenon we observe, what stiffness, tension, movement, whatever it is, it arises and then passes away. Nothing stays the way it is. It all passes away having arisen. And this is the characteristic that all nama and rupa have in common. To know the individual characteristic and the common characteristic of mind and matter, of nama and rupa, one must observe at the very moment of their arising, at the very moment of rising, at the very moment of falling, sitting down, standing up, bending, stretching, whatever occurs. Right at the very moment we must observe it, and this is very important. Effort is needed to make sati, mindfulness, stick to the object. This means that we always have to push the mind. We have to push the mind to get it to the object. If we do so, the sati will stick and become firmly established on the object in time. It will become firmly established after it sticks. And when the sati is firmly established on the mind, on the object, the mind falls collectedly on the object and won't run anywhere else. This is the path group of virya, sati, and samadhi. Just as one has to apply effort to get the mind to reach the object, one also must aim accurately so that the mind meets the object head on, so that it rubs against the object. Time and again, the mind has to be firmly established on the object. It has to stick to the object. This is jhana, and this is what Sayadaw will talk about today. In that way, when we have accurate aim to observe whatever arises every time an object arises. When we have accurate aim, so that the mind meets the object directly, when we do this a lot, then it seems as though the mind rubs against the object. This means that it doesn't become separated from the object. It arises again and again on the object, continuously. So it seems to rub against the object. This quality of accurate aim is called Vitakka in Pali. And the quality of rubbing against the object is called Vicara. If this rubbing occurs, if the rubbing of Vicara occurs on the arising object, the mind is firmly established on the arising object, and thus the mind is free of the nivaranas, the obstacles to concentration. Tina Meda, sloth and torpor, is the quality that makes us sleepy. It makes us want to back off from practice and take it easy. This quality of Tina Meda will not arise. And when the mind meets the object head on, then there's no wandering. Because the mind is continuously arising on the object, what the object is becomes very obvious, and the mind becomes definite. So there's no wavering. When the mind doesn't rub against the object, when it's not meeting the object directly, then there's this type of wavering. What is it? What is it? That comes up in our mind. This is called vicikkecha, or it's also called doubt. So with the quality of rubbing, we're free of this vicikkecha, or doubt. Vitakka is the quality that opposes tina mita, sloth and torpor, and so vitakka dispels this. And vicara opposes vicikkecha, and so the vicara dispels that quality. Vitakka is said to have the quality of subtle movement. It's called in Pali viparava. And so it itself moves subtly. And if this mental factor is moving subtly, then so are the other mental factors that occur with it, and so is the mind. So with movement, there's heat. And it's similar to the morning sun. When the sun rises in the morning, it touches the flower buds. And as the sun becomes stronger and stronger until the midday, these flower buds slowly open. And this is similar to the nature of vitakka. When there is sloth and torpor, tina mita, then the mind is shrunken, it's withered. So when, just like when a flower blooms, it's something that people look at and admire. So too, this quality of vitakka, accurate aim, it makes the mind fresh. It makes the mind blossom like a flower. And it makes also the other mind states that arise together with it, it makes them fresh. It also makes the mind and the other concomitant mind states reach the mind. So this quality of vitakka is fresh, and it also makes the mind fresh. And in this way, the sloth and torpor, tina and meta, is dispelled. Tina mita causes the mind to be sunken, and it's cold in a way. whereas Vitakka, accurate aim, makes the mind blossom, spread open and become fresh. So this directly counteracts sloth and torpor. This is the power of Vitakka. And this is why the meditation teachers always tell the yogis, always apply aiming to observe the object. So if one doesn't make effort and no aiming, then the tina mita will enter the mind. The Vitakka, the aiming, is the one that will make will be able to block the Vitakka will be able to block the tina and mita, sloth and torpor. When we apply Vitakka on the arising object, and the aim is accurate, then the mind will meet the object head on, and it will be as if it rubs against it. So the mind will have a direct hit on the object. So when the abdomen rises and we aim the mind meets that rising object head on. When the falling occurs and we aim the mind hits it directly. So every time we aim the mind at the arising object, the mind meets the object head on. And when this happens many times, then the mind seems to rub against the object. And this is the quality of vicara that comes about. Rubbing against the object means that it doesn't leave the object. Anusantana is what is said in Pali. It connects with the object again and again and again. So to the extent our aim is accurate, the mind will be continuously occurring on the object. And with the two qualities, the two jhanic factors of Vitakka and Vicara, one is free of akusala. As it said, Vivechewa kamehi, vivecha akusalehi dhammehi, savitakang savisarang. This is the Pali that describes how the mind is free of akusala when there is Vitakka and Vicara occurring. This is the start of Vipassana Jhana. Because one observes the rising and the falling with accurate aim, making aim so that the mind meets the object accurately. If one develops the quality of rubbing the object with vicara, repeatedly connecting with the object such as stiffness, tension, and movement, this is Vipassana Jhana. Only if one knows these special qualities of Vitakka and Vicara, and knowing them, one believes it's possible to develop them. And also one must think it's a good thing to do to develop these qualities. Thinking it's good, one will have the zeal, the chanda, to develop accurate aim and connecting with the object. And thus one will apply effort and try to aim the mind all the time. Not knowing the benefits of jhana, then one won't think it's good to do. And no faith will arise if one doesn't apply effort to learn. So with no faith will arise, and there won't be any zeal. Therefore, without faith, one won't have any zeal to gain these qualities and develop them. And without zeal, or with only a little bit of zeal, then there won't be much effort made to apply the practice. If at this point a yogi has not yet begun to develop knowledge, it's because these factors are missing. So Sayadaw has explained today how Vitakka, accurate aim, and Vicara, rubbing, these qualities, or in other words, Vipassana Jhana, is present in the practice. And Sayadaw will continue this topic tomorrow. That's all for today. That's all for today. That's all for today.